Hello and welcome to this episode of Hospitality Talks. I'm Katy Moses, founder and MD of KAM, and I'm joined today by Steven Rolfe, who's founder and CEO of pointOne. Steven, welcome. Would you like to explain to anyone out there who perhaps doesn't know who you are, doesn't know what pointOne do, exactly what your MO is?
Yeah, thanks, Katy. Yeah, so pointOne's one of the leading hospitality POS companies in the UK. We work with a whole number of suppliers, particularly in the casual dining and QSR space, but everything from small independent cafes all the way up to some large theatres and pretty much everything in between. Yeah, we are masters of our own destiny. We have our own software, all built and developed in the house. In fact, we celebrated our 20th anniversary this year as well. So yeah, we've been around the block, and yeah, we've got a good customer base and good team, and yeah, all good fun.
Congratulations. You're showing your age there, though, Steven. Steven, we recently conducted some research with you looking at the sort of customer experience in QSR. Yeah. One of the stats that really stuck with me was the idea that customers will only give a QSR 2 chances after sort of poor service, and then they leave and they just don't come back. Were you surprised that customers were quite so unforgiving?
I'm not actually surprised. No, I mean, I'm not. No, I mean, the report said that two visits was enough. I think if I look at my own kind of personal view on this, I think I'm in the same camp as most of those customers. You know, one visit and you have a bad experience, you kind of put it down to, you know, maybe maybe it was just a one-off, maybe I've had a bad day, you know, what it may be. But the second visit, and actually, normally for me, there's normally a protracted amount of period of time between the first visit and the second visit. But when you do finally make your way back on that second visit, yeah, if the customer service, if the experience is wrong, whether that's a product actually, or whether that's just the service delivery is wrong, that's it, isn't it? That's a nail in the coffin. You're not going to go back. I mean, I think there's just too many. There's too many other operators on the high street, too many other options for lunch. So why would you? I'm pretty keen on do it right and do it well and do it right every time. And I think if you get that consistency right, then you kind of limit those problems. But it's the operators that don't get the consistency. For me, and I talk about this all the time. If you haven't got a consistency, you're just doomed, because you know it makes it really difficult.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think it really is. It's about consistency of everything. It's consistency of product, it's consistency of services, consistency of cleanliness. You know, whatever it is, you've got to have that standard and make sure that you hit it. We know that technology is quite often lauded, and certainly I believe that it can really improve a customer experience, but obviously that only if it's being used correctly. So how, in your mind, can technology, you know, you're the specialist, how can technology, what role can it play in delivering great customer service?
Tech kind of gets banded around as a solution, mainly from tech companies, I think, if I'm honest about it. But it gets banded around as a solution to a lot of problems, and often it's not. But I think in the report, there was some pretty interesting findings. One of those with regards to the importance that staff and actually the end customers put on the knowledge that they expect the staff members to have. Mm-hmm. So, you know, whether that's about provenance or whether it's about nutrition and allergens, all that kind of stuff. And I was surprised actually at how high those figures were. And the tech, you know, the tech can obviously play a part in delivering that information easily and readily, you know, particularly through things like self-service kiosks and that type of technology. But we obviously, from the report, we mustn't overlook the need to ensure that staff are well trained, and that they can answer those questions when they're asked. And yeah, the report made pretty clear, and it really was quite surprising to me, and certainly for the few people I spoke to about the reports, you know, that whole the whole need for operators. If the tech's going to free up resource capacity with staff, then they should use that extra resource capacity to empower and train staff to deliver on the customer experience. And maybe that's not being done. I would hazard a guess that that's probably not being done as well as it could, and the data suggests it's not from customers and from the staff. I mean, if the fact that staff have said that really tells you something, right? And so yeah, the tech should support the operation and the customer journey, but it can't replace it all, as we found out.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And I've always had this phrase, we say tech for tech's sake, you know, that's just pointless.
Yeah. And just on that, we get lots of operators come to us with problems that they believe tech can solve, and we walk away from because it's not the solution. Actually, you know, there's an inherent issue somewhere else, and that tech isn't actually always the answer, for sure.
And also, I think we quite often think in silo of technology that helps our staff, technology that helps our customers. Whereas actually, if we look at the two as a joint project, we're much more likely to get something valuable out.
Absolutely, yeah.
What are the challenges that operators have if they're adopting new technology then? Because we know that our industry is slightly behind some other industries like retail, etc. Well, certainly was until the pandemic. Obviously, we've had a big sort of revolution in what we do and don't use now. But when we are adopting new technology, what mistakes do operators make? What are the challenges?
Yeah, we get asked this one a lot, actually. I think that not understanding where you are now, obviously the tech's trying to solve a need normally. So not understanding where you are now and what the actual outcome is that we're trying to get to, that's normally a challenge and a failure. And you'd be surprised at the number of operators that don't know. And if the operator doesn't know, you can sure hell bet the supplier has got no idea. And you won't onboard a successful project that way. It's really important for the supplier to understand that, and I think that's a challenge. I think it's overlooked. And I was chatting this through with an ex hospitality ops director yesterday, who'd been around the block a little bit, and we were discussing actually how many operators, particularly at board level and probably more at the C-suite level, CEOs and whatnot, but they feel like taking on new tech's a bit of a headache. And I don't know whether that's because they've had bad experiences, or change is difficult. But I think that there's this thing now. I just feel it, that they just kind of Christ, we've got to make that change, and that's it's going to be stressful. So I think having the right supply on boards, they should make that transition a bit more easier. Getting it wrong is expensive, so you've just got to make sure that you do it right from the beginning.
And I think that getting the right supplier on board is obviously is essential. Do you think that maybe the tech industry within hospitality needs a bit of positive PR at the moment? Maybe it's a little bit more about, this isn't a headache for you. Actually, the way that we should be looking at this is X, Y, and Z. But you need to come to us prepared, knowing what you need before we can go back to
you. That's right. That's absolutely right. I mean, that in an ideal world, that's what would happen all the time, right? But it doesn't. And as suppliers to onboard a successful project that the operator's paying us to do, we have to guide them down that path. And if we don't have those answers early on to, what the expected outcome, what does success look like for the operator and for the wider team, not just the buyer, the decision maker. We can guide them down the right path to kind of try and make that happen, I think, and that's pretty. If I'm really honest, tech for a lot of operators, the tech's mission critical in a lot of situations. Some of the useful tech that the industry uses, maybe for things like internal communication stuff, it's not mission critical, but a lot of the tech, POS, kiosks, integration with third-party accounting, third-party channel partner stuff, it's mission critical. So when it goes wrong, and it will go wrong. Things happen in tech, and if it's, and I think the industry has suffered a lot over the last 10 years from just kind of, it's this again, it's that again. So you kind of, especially when you speak to operators about new projects, they're already tarnished with that little, and I don't think you're ever going to get away from that. That's, it's a factor. But it doesn't matter how big the supplier is, how small the supplier is, what the project is, you're always going to have those challenges, I think. But I think you're right. I think there is a little bit of that in the sector. So
maybe tech is a little bit like QSRs that don't get it right. You've only got 2 strikes, and then
that's right. That's right. Absolutely. It's the same in all walks of life, right? So yeah.
Okay, so just tell me then, Stephen, in your view, you know, obviously by your own accounts, you've been in this industry for quite some time. Who gets it right, and what are they doing that gets it so right, other than giving you the good brief to start with?
Yeah, who gets it right? I think from a tech perspective, there's some good case studies on the high streets. I mean, I think Itsu have done a good job, you know, embracing the tech. If you look at what actually is their product offering, somewhat of a grab and go product offering, and their existing customer journey, they really embrace tech. I'm talking really notably about the kiosk and self-service stuff, because I think there's a lot of operators out there who wouldn't have believed that someone like Itsu would have made that work. I mean, that's great for the sector, but I think they've really embraced that technology, and I think they've really made that work. I think the customer journey at Itsu is brilliant. And it certainly hasn't detracted anything away from the customer service. I still think Itsu is a great brand. You know, the tech part of that hasn't changed my thoughts around that. In fact, it's just improved that. I think since lockdowns, like Avocado and also Little Farm in London as well. I think they've used the tech well to reduce like they kind of reopened stores to reduce operational overheads, and they've used kiosks and tech to enable them to do that, and they've driven those costs down, but also enabled themselves to increase revenue and increase the ATV. So I think they're really successful projects as well. That's been good, and I think there's a lot of I think a lot of operators know that stuff's possible, but it's, you know, there's, you know, we talked about challenges earlier. It's not quite that simple just to, you know, to implement new tech. There's costs, whether that's resource time, whether that's money, whether there's store refits to consider. There's all sorts of, you know, stuff. So I understand why operators don't just all hurriedly make the move. But I think the sector's proving that, you know, making that move in the various tech opportunities available to us is worth doing in the long run.
Absolutely. Well, Stephen, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure to have you on, and I look forward to reading a little bit more about that report and seeing what people told us, that the problems that tech can solve for them.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Katie. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.